need to make it where they ain't no competition. We need to move on them. Push them out street by street, block by block. That's what Beanie Siegel would do.
Why don't we just get the kids at school to work for us instead of the school?
How? We'll walk up to them and say, hey, and they say, what? And then we say, this is our block. Now you gonna get down or you gonna lay down? And if they be like, I don't know, let me think about it. We pull out the Roscoe and we be like, block out, block out. And they be like, oh, you shot me. And we be like, take that, faggots.
In the world of the Boondocks, where sharp satire slices through American culture, each character is a mouthpiece for a larger conversation. Some characters are overt and revolutionary like Huey Freeman, others are absurd and troubling like Uncle Ruckus, but then there are characters like Cindy McPhearson, often overlooked, often dismissed, but in that margin lives a mirror, a reflection of whiteness in proximity to blackness, of appropriation in the age of commodified culture. This is a journey into the complex, controversial, and at times comedic existence of Cindy McPhearson. From her origins in Aaron McGruder's comic strip to her dynamic portrayal in the animated series, Cindy has transformed from a simple joke into a layered commentary on American identity, race, and youth culture. We're going beyond the punchlines, we're going deeper into a character who tells us more than we might want to hear about ourselves.
Say what?
Whether seen as a comic relief, an unintentional antagonist, or a cultural cipher, Cindy has left an undeniable imprint. Her journey reflects how even the most humorous caricatures can become vessels of uncomfortable truth. What begins as a parody evolves into a critique, and by understanding Cindy, we understand a crucial part of the Boondocks' cultural mission. To understand Cindy McPhearson, we have to start at the beginning. The Boondocks comic strip, syndicated in 1996, created by Aaron McGruder, the strip followed Huey Freeman, a radical 10-year-old living with his brother and grandfather in the predominantly white suburb of Woodcrest. The comic wasn't just funny, it was political, pointed, and revolutionary. Cindy McPhearson first appeared as a white classmate of Huey's obsessed with hip-hop and clueless about black issues. Her love of Snoop Dogg, her forced use of slang, and her obliviousness to systemic racism positioned her as a satire of a growing phenomenon in the 1990s, white kids embracing black culture without understanding it. Aaron McGruder didn't create Cindy to be mean-spirited. He created her to reflect something true, the emergence of Wigger culture, a white person who tries to emulate or acquire cultural behavior and tastes attributed to African Americans. White kids mimicking black-style speech and attitudes was both ridiculous and real. Cindy was never villainized, but she was never taken seriously either, and that's the key. As the strip grew in popularity, so did the social conditions that made Cindy relevant. Hip-hop was becoming the dominant force in global music, fashion, and language. White youth were increasingly drawn into its orbit, and characters like Cindy symbolized this cultural transition. She was the embodiment of suburban America reaching out for the street authenticity it had once ignored or condemned. Yet Cindy wasn't portrayed as a malicious figure. She was sincere, if uninformed. Her presence introduced young readers to the nuance of cultural borrowing versus cultural appropriation. McGruder was giving us a character who wasn't evil, just confused, a subtle nod to the complexities of race relations in youth culture. Her name, Cindy McPhearson, sounds like a typical suburban last name, generic and safe. This naming choice highlights the juxtaposition between her background and her aspirations. She is the avatar of an American phenomenon, privilege imitating struggle for style points, and in that conflict, McGruder sets the stage for what Cindy will become in animation. When the Boondocks made the jump to animation on Adult Swim in 2005, Cindy came with it, but with noticeable upgrades. While in the comic, Cindy was mostly one-dimensional. On TV, Cindy was more active, dynamic, and fully realized. Tara Strong's voice acting elevated Cindy with a pitch-perfect blend of innocence and swagger. She didn't just talk the talk, she performed the persona of a tough, street-savvy girl. The voice gave Cindy a rhythm that felt authentic to her worldview, even when it was misguided. Visually, the character design gave her a blend of suburbia and hip-hop chic, blonde curls tied in pigtails, pastel hoodies, and oversized sneakers. Her physicality helped her bridge two worlds, the bubble of whiteness and the culture of the streets she idolized. The transition to television also gave the character space to breathe. On-screen interactions, visual gags, and tone of voice allowed Cindy's character to be more than a caricature. In animation, every glance, pause, and inflection told a story that ink on paper couldn't. This format allowed the writers to subtly build her into more than a single-note joke. The timing was perfect. The early 2000s were a hotbed for discussions about hip-hop's mainstreaming and white America's increasing participation in black culture. Cindy became a bridge between audiences, the white viewer who saw themselves in her enthusiasm, and the black viewer who saw their culture being adopted and diluted. Cindy's evolution into a fully animated character gave her a second life, allowing for development, story arcs, and layered humor. And with her consistent placement in key episodes, it was clear that the writers wanted her to be remembered even if she never stole the spotlight. Cindy's personality is paradoxical. She is both authentic and appropriative, both self-aware and completely oblivious. She doesn't understand the depth of the culture she imitates, but she believes in it. She lives it. She uses slang not to mock, but to participate. Her confidence and toughness are sincere even when they're misinformed. She represents a very specific kind of cultural participant, the fan who thinks they're family. Her interests rap music, basketball, and streetwear mirror Riley's, and that mirroring is intentional. They are twins of experience but not context. Riley lives the experience Cindy imitates. He deals with the consequences she doesn't even recognize. Her identity is rooted in imitation but not in malice. That nuance is important. She's not a villain, nor is she portrayed as a colonizer. She's more like a cultural orphan, searching for meaning in places not meant for her. Her struggle for belonging echoes larger issues of white consumption of black art and the blurry lines between influence and appropriation. Cindy's behavior also reflects the developmental stage of adolescence, a time when many youth experiment with identity. For Cindy, cultural mimicry becomes a form of rebellion and self-expression. She doesn't yet grasp the implications, but her actions are rooted in a need for recognition and self-worth, and it is that confusion that makes her so compelling. Cindy is a walking contradiction, a privileged outsider who desperately wants to be an insider without realizing the historical and systemic barriers that make such transitions problematic. Her identity is not fixed but fluid, performed rather than lived. Cindy's character shines most in a few specific episodes, offering insight into her complexity. In Ballin', she becomes Riley's rival on the basketball court. The two trash talk, play hard, and ultimately show off their skills. But Cindy's outburst when she loses, breaking into tears, shows that for her this isn't just a game, it's her identity, her pride, and it crumbles in a moment of defeat. This episode offers more than laughs. It shows how deeply Cindy has tied her self-worth to a culture that was never hers to begin with. She wants to win in a game that symbolizes cultural authenticity. When she loses, it's not just a game, it's an existential crisis. Then there's the fundraiser where she partners with Riley to run a candy-selling empire. Here she's loyal, fearless, and even violent. She becomes the muscle, helping Riley take over the schoolyard economy. It's absurd and hilarious, but also revealing. Cindy has fully embraced her role in Riley's world. She doesn't hesitate to intimidate or throw hands. She fully believes in the world they've created, no matter how morally questionable. The episode suggests that Cindy doesn't just admire black culture, she internalizes its myths, even the dangerous ones. Another episode worth noting is Wingmen, where Cindy's absence is felt as much as her presence. In episodes where she doesn't appear, the tone shifts. Her chaotic energy adds contrast to Riley. Her presence isn't always necessary, but it is always impactful. Cindy's story can't be told without understanding her relationships. With Riley Freeman, she has a unique bond, equal parts rivalry and camaraderie. They fight, compete, laugh, and hustle together. Riley rarely shows respect to anyone, but he sees Cindy as a worthy opponent. She's as reckless, cocky, and ambitious as he is, but Riley lives the culture Cindy mimics. He was born into it, Cindy is performing it, and that difference is felt in subtle ways in their arguments, their teamwork, their victories and defeats. At times, Riley uses Cindy as a proxy, someone he can test ideas on, manipulate, or collaborate with, but he also seems to value her spirit. She challenges him in ways other characters don't. Their relationship becomes a commentary on cultural exchange, showing both its playful and problematic sides.
Oh, Girl Scout cookie game on lock.
Yo, what up, Cindy?
Yo, I just seen this kid over there, right over there, around the corner over there, and I know she ain't down with your team.
Who?
I don't know, some skinny, big-headed bitch.
Word? Come on.
She wasn't like Jasmine or Phil. Cindy was a cheat.
What you think you're doing here?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Open your bag. What's in your bag?
I'll kill you, bitch.
Cindy, come here.
But what I really liked about her was that she had less compassion than the average girl.
Take off, bitch. Get her. Take off.
Way, baby.
Huey, on the other hand, has no patience for Cindy. He sees through her like glass. To him, she's a distraction, an embodiment of America's refusal to engage with truth. Their few interactions are cold. Huey doesn't argue with Cindy, he ignores her. This silence speaks volumes. It reflects a refusal to entertain performative allyship. It's Magruder saying not all voices need to be amplified. Huey's avoidance of Cindy is strategic. It underscores his commitment to revolution over entertainment. And then there's the audience's relationship with Cindy. She pulls us into a web of contradiction. We like her energy, but question her intentions. She embodies the cultural confusion we often experience but rarely confront.
Game on!
Ooh, boy, you look mad. I'm scared now. You're not gonna cry now, are you?
Your mama got caught giving up neck in the bathroom at the Woodcrest Country Club and it wasn't your dad.
For some, Cindy McPhearson is a hilarious example of clueless whiteness. For others, she's a painful reminder of cultural theft. But one thing is certain, she's relevant. In today's world of TikTok trends, viral dances, and aesthetic appropriation, Cindy is the moment. Before Bad Baby, before Cash Me Outside, Cindy was already there. She forces us to ask hard questions. Who gets to participate in culture? Who defines what's authentic? What's the line between admiration and appropriation? Cindy doesn't have the answers, but her presence demands that we look for them. She challenges viewers to examine their own consumption of culture. Are we appreciating or are we exploiting? Are we participating or are we performing? Her impact extends beyond the screen. Cindy has become a reference point in discussions about white allyship, performative activism, and cultural imitation. She has sparked academic essays, fan theories, and memes, all signs that a character has transcended fiction. In an era where race and representation dominate public discourse, Cindy is more than relevant, she's essential. She reminds us that good satire doesn't just make us laugh, it makes us think. And Cindy McPhearson, against all odds, has done exactly that. Cindy McPhearson began as a joke, but over time she evolved into a commentary, a character that both entertained and provoked. She may not be the hero, she may not be the villain, but she is important. Because in her contradictions, her sincerity, and ignorance, her loyalty and delusion, we find the essence of cultural tension in America. She represents the generation that wants to belong but doesn't know how to ask permission. And maybe that's what Aaron Magruder wanted all along, not to condemn Cindy but to show her, to hold her up like a mirror for us to see ourselves, and maybe to do better. Thanks for joining me on this journey. If you're still watching, you see it too. Cindy McPhearson is more than a sidekick, she's a lesson.